Fantasy Football Show.
It's convenient that Manchild doesn't record when we're insulting him. Do you mind moving to the next slide?
In all seriousness, the cleanness of the pod and the sound, etc.,
is down to Matt.
Like, it wouldn't happen without his work.
Cool.
So, fair game.
Right, we've got some guests coming on for the second half of the show, so that it's not just me and James talking.
Well, I was going to invite Neil up, but he looks like you're already here.
He's already here, made himself at home.
Sorry.
Fair play.
Does everyone want to give Neil a clap now?
Yeah, let's give him a round of applause. Part of the point, one thing that I really want to encourage in the second half, and especially when the game is on, is that people talk to other people from the FPL community. The whole point of a meet-up is that we don't just talk to the people we came with, and we're trying to highlight a few people within the room that hopefully can connect others in the second half of the show. Now, Neil travelled all the way from Copenhagen. Your flight was, 7 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, it's pretty early.
And so James and I just have one question.
What the fuck are you doing here?
I don't even know if I can answer it, to be honest. So, I don't know. I've been playing FPL for about 8 years, probably. I don't even know the exact how many seasons I've been playing it. I would say that I've been doing pretty okay. I've done like a few top 30k finishes and stuff, but this year was the first year that I discovered there was a world outside like me and my mates playing it, to be honest. And about 6-7 months ago, like I joined Twitter like with this account to like tweet about FPL, discovered your podcast, discovered Tom's podcast, and just like fell down this rabbit hole of like there was actually other people that liked FPL as much as I did.
So, in line with the first question, if people look on Twitter, it says join November 2018, followers 6,751. Anyone in the room got more than 6,000 followers?
You put your hand down, boy.
And you joined Twitter 7-8 months ago. So my question is, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, I don't like to talk about it too much actually, because I think that
you bought the followers?
Well, it's even worse than that. I actually tweeted about Ricardo Pereira and said he was going to be the best option from about game week 21 till the end of the season. I'm not sure I want to be associated with that anymore.
I didn't buy Ricardo Pereira. Anyone else on the stage up here bought Ricardo Pereira?
Yes. Thanks. Mainly because of his tweet, I think.
No.
Yeah, sorry.
And that was the tweet that catapulted you into a massive spike in follower numbers.
How quickly did that grow, in seriousness?
I think I started in November. I think I tweeted in January, the Pereira tweet, and I'd probably tweeted about 30 times before that and had about 30 followers. And then a couple of weeks later, I probably had like 5,000 followers.
It was a joke. I'd never seen a growth like that. Basically, you did in one tweet what it had taken us 18 fucking months. Thank you very much.
And the rest.
It wasn't deserved.
Yeah, it really was incredible. Are you sure there was no rogue hashtags in the bottom of your tweet, like hashtag porn or something? Because I haven't seen growth like that.
No, it was weird because I didn't ask for like follows or anything. I tagged a few people when I did the Pereira tweet to say, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
But, there wasn't any, I didn't use any like Jedi mind tricks or anything weird at all. It just flew up. Truthfully, I don't know why it happened. I think like, for me, I did this thread on Pereira and it was, these are kind of the decisions that I make or the numbers that I look at when I'm looking at a player.
Do you think it was more because you said rather than these are the numbers, my opinion is? Do you think that helps or?
I think that helps. I think what's interesting or like what I find interesting on Twitter is like reading not necessarily if someone thinks a player is good, but why they think they're good, and then kind of explaining their thought process. To me, that's the most interesting part about it, is like understanding why you might look at that player. And I also like to, I think, a lot of the conventional wisdom, I like to go against that sometimes, or like to try and think of some original thoughts. And yeah, maybe Pereira wasn't the best option until the end of the season, although I'd like to point out he still scored 2 more points than Matt Doherty all season. It was still trying to think about other options that other people weren't thinking about, and everyone was saying, get on Doherty, get on Dean still, and yeah, I mean, that would have been a better option. But, it was just, I wanted to look outside of that, and maybe their points are in the past, and we should be looking at what's going to come.
There were some interesting stats around Norway having 20% of the top 250 managers. Do you reckon if we move to Oslo, we'll just naturally get better? Or?
No, I think you'll still be shit.
Right, okay. I'm done for then. I'm not coming to Copenhagen. But it is interesting how well Scandinavian countries do in FPL. Do you have a kind of community in Copenhagen that you jam with?
No, not at all. Like, honestly, I didn't know anyone existed in the FPL community until 6 months ago.
Did you get better when you moved to Copenhagen?
Maybe. Like, this is maybe
Is
it's
it
just
in the
like a
water?
physical
That's
thing.
what we want to know. Is it in the water?
Is it in the water? No, do you know what it is? It's that they love the English league more than they love their own leagues. Like, they're obsessed with the English league. Everyone has a team over there. Like, I'm talking about Denmark, but I also know Norway a little bit because I travel there for work. But everyone watches the English Premier League. It's probably the #1 league. And I think that they spend more time looking at that than they do their own team. So I think that plays a big part.
Fair play.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, Neil, thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having you up, mate.
We're still confused about why you would travel all the way from Copenhagen for the show, but for the whole community, we really appreciate everything you do on Twitter and for coming down. If you are mingling around watching the FA Cup final, come and say hello to Neil. Don't follow him on Twitter, he's already got enough followers, that's good. All right, cheers Neil, thank you.
Thank
you, guys.
Next slide, please.
So,
cool.
I think for us, this is the biggest thing for me. So,
because it was your idea.
Of course. So this time last year, we were kind of bouncing around ideas in terms of what we do, bless you, what we do differently to sort of have a better growth area in the community, etc. We want to grow the pod, we want to get it out to more people. The thing that really sort of expanded the idea for us, which everybody seemed to love, was the idea of the correspondents.
Mm-hmm.
And having a reference point in terms of their written articles, and obviously a reference point if you've got a question on Watford to know that you could ask Stephen or whomever. So we've got a few in attendance today, and we just want to invite them up so you can meet them. So please invite the guys up. FI_FPL addict Chris, who's our West Ham correspondent.
Come on, you irons.
Tinkerman Dara is our Fulham correspondent. Mctavius Miggs is our Palace correspondent. I'm going to skip FPL Footballer, who's our Geordie, and FPL Loco Lord, Planet FPL exclusive, our new Liverpool correspondent.
Indeed.
Come up, gents.
Yeah, please do.
I definitely, thanks, mate. That means you can take a seat, Edvisage. You can take
thank you so much.
I'll have it anyway.
They're all stacking up.
Thanks, mate. I'll just hold all of them, it's fine.
Get yourselves in the middle, mate.
Have a seat.
We'll be sharing a mic. Let's start with Dan first.
Oh, shite.
Dan, how many goals are you going to beat James's Spurs by in Madrid? Please make it more than 3.
I was going to say 2, so...
One for fun,
3-1,
please, if you don't mind.
Sacked. Dan, on the serious, amazing performance from Liverpool this year. Do you think, as I keep saying, that I think it will be really difficult to match that points total next year? And do you think also City will match the similar numbers as well? I know I should have another beer, shouldn't I?
I think my feeling all depends on the final. If we lose that final, then it's going to demoralise the players, I would think. That's 3 finals in a row, European finals, where we've lost. We lose 1 game all season and finish second. It could hit them hard, I think.
Is this something psychological that not won a trophy yet?
Possibly.
Because I've had it thrown at me about Spurs for years. Oh, you need to win a trophy, you need to win a trophy. We've never been as good as this current Liverpool side. So do you think that will hang if you don't win the final?
I think it'll hurt. I really do.
I hope so. Not going to lie, mate.
But I don't think it'll happen.
If you could start next year with 1 Liverpool player, assuming they'll be price correct, who would you advise to the guys, that's the guy you've got to have next year?
I think it's got to be Trent, really.
Yeah. Price, do you think?
7, maybe 6.5.
I think it'd be 7.5, guys.
I don't think he'll go that high. No.
No, 8 for Robertson, I think.
Let's look at Alonso the season before, and he went to 7, didn't he, this season? He's not going higher than Alonso.
But these guys have produced numbers that are like unheard of. So I think Baines held the record for most assists, lasted about 5 years. And these 2 guys like both blew it in a couple of weeks. Together, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson.
I've only been playing for 3 years, but I've never seen anyone as a defender more than 7 million, and I don't think it's going to happen this year. If it does, it'll be Robertson.
Do you think there'll only be 7?
Agreed.
Interesting.
Robertson possibly 7.5, but Trent no way.
If he's 7 million, he's getting bought by everyone, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest, on what we've.
That's what I reckon. Only time will tell.
All right,
Nice.
mate. Welcome to the team, most importantly.
Indeed. And
Dara, you sitting next.
now we'll know which
on.
3. Yes. Disappointing to see Fulham go down because I've got a lot of love for Fulham, and also to like all of the West Ham guys who are in here, Sham and Houghts and my brother and stuff, also have a lot of love for Scott Parker. So if he was managing you in the Premier League, I would have a little sort of soft spot for him because Parker was a good player, but he did turn it around in the back end of the season. What are your thoughts going into next season now?
It depends who we manage to keep. I think we need to keep a core players. I know some of them are going to be sold.
Yeah.
But there's value in some of those players, so hopefully we can reinvest it, do something like Newcastle did previously, selling off like a Sissoko and getting 30 million for it. And
Yeah, player of the season at Spurs now.
The man who couldn't control a footballer a year ago.
It just took a couple of years, that's all.
bounce back. I think playoffs are a minimum requirement. Hopefully we'll be back.
Yeah.
Do you think it was the case that, like, the way you ended the previous season in an odd way was almost too good? Because you came from almost like nowhere to then get into, was it 16 games unbeaten or something?
Yeah, but we did that the previous season as well. Yeah. We came out of nowhere to get into playoffs.
So do you think that there was potentially no plan in place in terms of to accommodate? Because then it felt, at the start of the season, it felt like a lot of people gambled on Sessegnon. He had kind of the price hike just because he was the name. And then he was in and out the team. It never felt settled. Do you think that was an issue?
It's just the way the championship is. Teams don't have a lot of money to spend. If they gamble and go for it, if they don't get up there.
Are you coming back, most importantly?
Back?
Yeah, back
Back
up.
to the Premier League.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Good, love it.
And it'll be good if you do.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Well, we'll go in the order of the screen, shall we?
All right.
Mig.
Yeah, why not?
Mig.
I'm going to hide behind Serge.
Yes. How much is Wilf Zaha worth? Not in FPL.
How much have you got?
He said to me just to cut in. He said to me at half time. He said, "Just don't ask me about Zaha for fuck's
Oh, okay.
No, he's worth as much as he is to us. I mean, to other teams, he's going to be worth 50 mil, 40 mil even. But to us, as a club, as our best player, he's going to be worth 100 mil because his influence in our team against other clubs is probably the reason why we're established as a mid-table team. Because it's his threat against the likes of the other teams that give us the sort of playing that we can. Yeah. Because if we don't have him, who else are the other teams going to focus on and kick the living every game?
Do you know if there's any intention to buy Batshuayi permanent? Or?
I don't think so, because Roy favoured Benteke towards the end of the season. And he said because Benteke is a contracted player and Batshuayi isn't, which is an indication that he's going to go for him in the summer. I would love it if he did. But I got a feeling, especially with Chelsea's ban, if that gets upheld, they will want him rather than letting us have him.
That's a good shout. We mentioned Abraham. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, true. Just by show of hands in the audience, how many people owned a Palace player for most of the season? I think everyone said. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
But for most of the season, because he was so cheap. But I think Palace is one of those clubs where I don't ever feel comfortable owning like more than two or three, really. I don't mind owning 2.
I don't think anyone is.
No, but obviously Wan-Bissaka's a bench fodder, right? So if you had to pick another for next season, which Palace player? Milivojevic on penalties?
I'd love to say Milivojevic because we're going to get loads of penalties, but if Zaha goes, then we're not going to get many penalties.
Townsend?
Townsend is great every sort of 3 or 4 games. He can hit a worldie and goal of the season, just going to say that. Sacco and Tompkins are always bonus point magnets. Van Aanholt can turn up when he wants to. But yeah, I'll probably stick with sort of Milivojevic or probably Townsend. Hopefully we get a goal scorer that will score more than 1 goal every year.
Andy Carroll's available and at a very reasonable price.
Mick, one question before we pass on, because I know you want this platform. how good is Wan-Bissaka and how much better than Trippier is he?
Well, he should be in England squad, that's what I'm
agree.
saying. Going forward, I'll give Trippier, he's better going forward. But defensively, there's not many more better in the league than Wan-Bissaka.
He just doesn't get beat on
one-on-ones.
take-ons, does he?
No, at one point he had the most tackles in Europe, let alone just the league. So if he can, well, I'm going to say this now, if he can stay at Palace for at least another couple of years and develop further, then he could be.
I think for him,
Stonewall
I don't want to go
Warner.
back to Zaha, but he should stay and develop.
He's got to stay for development. I don't want to see him, because it happened with Zaha when he went to Man United. He had a bad time and it knocked his confidence for a year or so. So if he could stay and develop and then make that move, hopefully the club moves with him. But if he has to go to find better stages, then all the power to it.
Cool, thank you, mate.
Should we move around to Chris? Come on, you irons.
Oh, do you know what? I'll just let you two
No,
go.
I'm going to leave it all to you.
Start talking about carpet.
We've
whatever the
got
fuck.
another West Ham fan coming on straight after. So I said it to a lot of my friends. That victory at White Hart Lane, which makes us the first team to win there and the first team to keep a clean sheet there.
You're also the first team to win at the Emirates.
Yeah, true. Makes the next 5 years of being a West Ham fan bearable, because no matter what bad thing happens, I can always go back to, well, we were the first team to win at the new White Hart Lane.
Well, first goal as well, and first goal conceded, I think, at White Hart Lane as well.
Best dance as well.
Yeah.
Bit of an interesting dance, that one, wasn't it? Not
Indeed.
on Sky Sports in slow motion, doesn't quite do it justice, I don't know.
I think West Ham, maybe alongside Everton, but probably, West Ham were the side that I flip-flopped on most this season, from thinking I want to have at least 2 or 3 to fucking get rid of all of them straight away. Just because we had so many ups and downs throughout the season.
The trouble with them is that period where they had that 6 games where ordinarily, if it's any other team than West Ham, in hindsight, you would have put them in. They had good fixtures, they had players that like Anderson, Arnautovic who was scoring, maybe even their defence getting a couple of clean sheets. But they're inconsistent and it makes it really, really difficult in FPL. It's bad enough as a West Ham fan, but when you see them in FPL, they don't do it when you expect them to do it, and I think that's what makes it difficult. I think next year, I think Fabianski will possibly be a good pick, but it depends on price. He's could be quite similar to someone like Pickford, but I think we only had 7 clean sheets last year. Previous year we had 10, but Fabianski's been such an amazing player. He's kept us in so many games that we would have lost those games if it hadn't been for him. We might have basically our season compared to last season is defined by not how many games we won, it's how many losses we turned into draws, and that's where we've got our extra points from, and that's where our improvement's been. But I think that'd be bigger next year.
Chris, I asked Suj on the last pod, you said we need to go to next level, and I said to Suj, what is next level? So I'll put the same question to yourself.
Before this year, I would have said next level was getting sort of maybe 7th, 8th, challenging that position. I think we've kind of taken a little bit of a step. I wouldn't say it's a step back, but we've improved, but not as much as we would have had. So we're going to have another year, which is a transition year, which isn't great. I would say next level for us would be consistently being around that 7th and 8th mark for most of the season, and then after that, then trying to push for the top 6 in terms of a challenge. Doesn't mean we get there. I'm not unrealistic, but I think 7th and 8th, round about that mark from the start, would be progress.
I think in all seriousness, listen, the guys will know all I do is insult you a lot every week. But in terms of the capability of what the club could be in terms of getting to and into the top 6, the capability with the size of the stadium now, etc., it is there. It's just, we've spoken so many times, I think it's now about changing the mentality of the football club.
100%.
And making believe like, okay, we need to be this, and stop thinking that top half, etc., is acceptable.
Last minute goals at home to Wolves and stuff like that are just not acceptable. We need to get out.
And you've got the carpet now. So.
Yeah, we do have the carpet. We definitely do have the carpet.
Very good carpet, good quality carpet.
Cool.
But Pellegrini has made a difference, so I think he's installing that mentality.
I mean, it's bringing a Premier League winner's mentality into the club. It's just going to take a bit of time when you've still got certain players that are not good enough there. Yeah.
Agreed.
And then we go and buy people like Samir Nasri. Let's move on. YA, man.
Yeah, I'll leave the Julian.
Yeah, that was what he said to Si. Oh, good job. Did you
Where's
travel
the
down
Geordie
from
accent?
Newcastle? He's like round the corner. My accent's
I
so
don't want you to
good.
answer it now because we're going to do something where I want to give you that platform to explain.
My exclusive
I-
podcast. Is that it?
Shh, we're not allowed to say. He's not letting me tell anyone. You got a mic in your hand. Mike Ashley.
Out of 10?
Careful, we don't want to get shut
I don't
down
know.
early.
Fuck, marry, kill.
What's the
I don't know,
question?
whatever.
Well,
Mike Ashley.
what's your feelings? And no, on the serious, what's your feelings and what do you think is going to happen with Benitez?
Well, there's rumours that he's been offered 15 million quid for one season.
Oh, I thought that was the transfer budget.
In all honesty, I think he's on 5 at the moment, and he would take another 5 if it meant an extra 10 million quid in the transfer kitty. But it's just not Mike Ashley's strategy. It's just look at next season. Can we stay up? Can we stay in the same place? You talk about like changing mentality. It's just
Your
not
club's
present.
massive. I think like the people who remember the team that you fell in love with and stuff, like want to see Newcastle back in the top half. And to be honest, the way you finished the season was like last season was enjoyable to watch you. I certainly hope he stays. Do you think if he stays, Rondon will get bought?
Sorry, I missed the end of that. It was a bit of a
Do you think Rondon will get bought?
No, I've heard rumours that we've got first option on him. I don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't seem sensible that we would put some kind of clause in a loan deal to do that. I've heard rumours he's going to Wolves.
Yeah, I've heard
the
that
fact
as
that
well.
they're willing to pay £50 million for a backup, and we're not going to pay 50 million quid for a player over 30, it just doesn't fit the Ashley model.
No.
I think we'll go out on the continent and buy something cheaper.
Man, Charles wants you on the camera. There we go, man. Charles, you happy now?
Yeah, no, I think I'd love to see Rondon back. I think it's the sort of signing that we should be making, but I just don't think we'll pay 16 million quid for him.
And Richie, because I know you got some opinions on this, there's an undercurrent of opinion on Matt Ritchie and where he might sort of lie pricing wise next year, etc. What's your thoughts?
He should be a defender next season. I'm just not sure if FPL really give a shit about Newcastle.
What would be the
He should be a 5 million defender.
should get him on every week?
We're gonna cut that out and tag him in a tweet.
What would make him? If he was a 5 million defender, would you buy him?
Yeah, 100%.
Even at 5?
Yeah, I'm thinking about him and Shah, depending on our fixtures next
Both.
season.
I saw your tweet. You said next
Yeah.
year I'll be made up of Liverpool, City, Newcastle.
I usually play 3-4-3 or 4 at the back sometimes, but yeah, if Newcastle get good fixtures, 5 at the back next season, and then just hiding under my pillow, I think.
Thank you, Si. Cheers.
Excellent. So guys, listen, the work that these guys do is out of love for the FPL community and FPL in general. We don't pay them because we have no money, because Manchester makes us like
paying
cables.
ourselves, mate.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so it is for the love of the community. Happy to give everybody a platform to promote themselves, which is what it's about. Just and getting some of the clubs that don't get all of the headlines in Monday Night Football and Sky and all the rest of it, some visibility. Apart from Liverpool, obviously, because you're always there. So yeah, can we have a round of applause for these guys and look forward to next season? Thank you. Cool.
What up, Meg?
There
Don't
we
worry,
go.
it's still beer.
It's all right. Don't worry. It's
If
only
you do
beer.
one thing when this podcast finishes today, talk to these guys.
Yes,
They're
please.
fucking outstanding.
Next up.
Well, this is a personal for me.
Yeah,
right?
tell me about it.
So opposite to the way Neil grew on one tweet, there's someone here who I've invited in who, for me, is the most under-followed person in the community. Yeah, all right, boy.
Come on, Houghts. Come in. Oh, yeah, apart from Manchild, obviously.
I'd like to welcome you to Ian, FPL Horse, who also had, come on, boy, also, in my opinion, the best guest appearance on any podcast that I listened to this
after,
year. And I'll have another one of them.
I feel really like I thought I was James's favourite West Ham fan, and he doesn't like any West Ham fans, to be honest. So it's not really much kind of praise to be James's favourite West Ham, but I was James's favourite West Ham fan.
Well, you ain't
and
anymore, 'cause I've
then
met him now.
Houghts was a guest on Surgery probably about 3 weeks ago, three weeks ago with us TC. And yeah, James wouldn't shut up about it, and he was so excited that you were making it to
You
the
and
live
Tom
show.
Campbell
So
were on
I'm
Surgery.
gonna go and leave you guys to it.
No,
Would you like that, James?
I was going to do a nice little bit, and I was going to say,
can
yeah,
go.
by the way, you two talk
said
for
he
a
was
week.
going to have his toilet
How
break
did
now.
you end up, because we're big fans of the surgery and we get on really well, how did you end up being on the surgery in the first place?
Jim just sent me, Iceman, just sent me a DM and just said we're looking to sort of extend it out and bring on a guest every week and that sort of thing. And are you interested? And I just said, yeah, fine. Let's give it a go. Possibly because of my background as an actor or what have you. But yeah, I just gave it a crack and it seemed to go down well. And I've been a fairly regular guest now, I think, with the surgery for about the last 3 years. So it's good fun. We do it on a Tuesday night with the guys and we just Skype it all up together. And because obviously that format has changed slightly this season because it always used to be on a game-by-game basis, so you could do your research based on the coming games. Now it's more a Q&A sort of thing, and it's more of a general thing. So we can throw stuff out there like the Mason Greenwood shout a couple of weeks ago, which sort of went okay, although he didn't get any points. But yeah, that's, say, like earlier on, just you make a shout on a player, and all of a sudden your following starts to go up. So, but I think Greenwood's got a good shot next year with Solskjaer. Hopefully, he'll give him more of a crack because he played well last game of the season.
You've obviously got a life outside of this as well. Do you want to tell the guys what that is? This is obviously not your life. Obviously.
No. Well, my job. No. I mean,
yeah.
I'm an actor, so that's actually what got me into FPL because I was very lucky to play one of the characters in Horse for 2 years, and I sort of lost a bit of interest in football. I played American fantasy football for like the last 25 years, so I'd got a background in fantasy sports.
I say him, sorry.
And then, I was invited to join the Horse League, and that sort of got me interested and sort of got me into FPL. And of course, my first team had 3 West Ham players in. I didn't know anybody else. I think I had Costa and Aguero and 3 West Ham players. So hence my first season was fairly rank. But it's built up since then, so I've had sort of taken it far more seriously. Obviously, with a background in fantasy sports, you get an eye to look out for the stats, and also, as you say, it's the eye test. And the big difference, I think, is gut feel. You go with your own gut feel. You don't always have to follow the group think, because the group think can lead you down blind alleyways and things like that. And you think, I'm going with Pogba or what have you over the last few weeks, where it's fairly obvious he's playing too deep, he's not really interested, so you leave him alone. And then I think it's also important to have players you quite like on your team. I mean, that's not very analytical, I know, but it's much...
No, but I say that. I always say, like...
Well, why?
Like, game week 38, don't have shit
Tell us
players
why.
in your team.
Why? Well, it's one of those things. I think if you've got a player on your team that you've got in because everyone else is getting them in, but you don't really like that player, if that player then bombs, it pisses you off even more than it normally would.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if you go with your gut and you go, I quite fancy this player, I bring him in. Even if he fails, you sort of go, I'll give him another week, it's not that bad. But if you've got a player you absolutely dislike on your team, that's one of the reasons I think it sort of turns you off the game, because if they're doing badly for you, that just makes it even worse.
It's interesting. I think everyone in the room will have picked a player off just gut and just thinking, I'm going to take a punt, and had it come in when they've returned points. Mm-hmm. But it's only happened once a season. But when it does, we do like to tweet about it as much as we possibly can.
Well, it's nothing like... I mean, Delafeu 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think he was flagged as an injury risk.
Yeah. Missed the 32 wildcard because of that.
Left it up to the sort of the last half an hour before the deadline and thought, no, sorry, I'm too far behind. I'm trying to desperately scrabble my way back into the top 10k. And it was worth a gamble, and it came off. And when that happens, you just sort of sit back and just really enjoy the week. It makes your whole week a lot better, doesn't it?
To be honest, in the interval, I was just said a quick hello to my brother, and he said, make sure you tell everybody about the week that I told you to pick Robert Snodgrass, and he came in and returned. So there you go, I've told everyone. Because he's not on Twitter, so he can't get the credit.
That must
You've
be
got your
the
glory
1 week
now.
this season.
We go week in, week out. So when you're at the game and a random pick like Robert Snodgrass returns and it's for your own team, that's pretty satisfying.
Can I jump in at this point?
Jump.
Matchhold, you're going to press a button, I believe. Is that right?
On?
All right, next screen. Who's been pressing the button?
Yeah, he has.
I also want to ask him why he was so fucking late today. Why is
fair play.
Was you out all night with girls?
Oh! I did during the interval. I did give Matt Child my watch, just to help.
Where's the tweet in the middle?
I didn't put it up.
You are a fucking dickhead.
There we go.
So I'm gonna pull it out on my phone now.
Yes.
Then. Sorry about this.
So there was some stats that Canal put together for the show and also for a blog article that you tweeted.
They'll just think you're
FPL
going down the stream in
Canal,
Amsterdam.
spelled Kernow, is one of our correspondents who's our stato. He doesn't particularly follow any particular club, but he loves a little bit of Excel. He loves a little bit of Microsoft Excel, and he's the one that puts together the blog articles related around numbers. And we had a blog article, I don't know if you pushed live on it yet, but it is on the website, looking at the difference between the first half of the season and the second half of the season, and what the team of the year would be if you looked at players that were the best performing in the second half of the season.
Correct. So I just want to shout some names out, and you can join in with your opinion on this. So what he did, as I said, is he looked at, or what Suj said, he's obviously looked at players that had a big increase in performance second half versus first. Now, he set parameters. It wasn't like, you didn't play in the first half, you obviously had a 100% increase second. He looked at sort of minimum 25 points in the first half to make sure people were involved. And he came up with, which should be on the screen now, boy, a 3-4-3 team of players that really excelled in the second half. Now, the keeper that came out, he said it could have been Pickford, but it actually came out with Leno. Do we expect a rise there, or is there? Do we think with Leno at 5 million again that he's someone that we could consider?
I think with Leno, I think part of the problem he had was obviously he didn't start the first few games, and the Arsenal defence took a long time to gel, and it never really did gel. They were always pretty dodgy investing in an Arsenal defence. Plus the fact, of course, Emery just changes around every week, although it looks as though Leno's obviously cemented that spot with Cech's retirement. I think that with goalkeepers, he's in that dodgy mid-ground. You either go for a slightly more expensive Edison or an Alisson, or you go for a slightly cheaper, like you said, Fabianski. I think Fabianski is still a great bet, because I think our defence is only going to get better.
Correct.
We had far too many...
Maybe.
Well, no, they were. I think far too many... Well, we had a couple of young guys playing for the first time
True.
this season.
Balbuena missed a reasonable chunk of the season.
And Diop has come through as spectacularly through the
I
second
love that
half.
guy,
So Fabianski is still a good bet, but there's people much lower and people much higher. Leno's in that sort of mid-ground I'd avoid, to be honest.
Canal came up with a back three. Now 2 Everton players are in that back three. Lucas Dean is not one of them. He came up with a back three of Coleman, Zuma and Laporte. I know I said on Monday's pod, Coleman had more points in the second half of the season than Dean, which blew my mind a little bit when I heard that.
Yeah, but when we did talk about it, Lucas Dean had a habit of getting himself sent off or scoring own goals and self-destructing himself a little bit.
I get that. But I mean,
but still,
sometimes
over
with a
19
defensive
games.
player, what you want is consistency as
Correct.
well, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is the bit you'd like, Suj, and Manchild.
Here we
He
go.
came up with a midfield three, and 2 of them were budget midfield options. Mark Noble was one of them.
Sir Mark Noble, if you don't mind.
To be fair, 72 points in the second half of the season against 27 in the first half. And Ashley Westwood was in there as well.
DJ Westwood in the house.
Fuck me. Diego Jota, who do we think forward reclassification is that obvious next year?
I don't know. I mean, Jimenez is the designated forward there, isn't he? So Jota may still get away with the
kind of played
midfield
as a
designation.
front two, really,
Yeah.
haven't they? Kind of regularly since Christmas.
I was going to say it happened late, so he might get away with the fact he didn't play there all season. He might still hang on to a midfield slot, in which case he's now settled in the Premier League, whereas the early part of the season, I mean, loads of us must have jumped on him early doors because he was a bargain price and we all thought he was going to hit the ground running, and he flopped in the first half of the season. Suddenly, the penny dropped, and he's been amazing the second half. So I think he'll be in a lot of people's, early teams next season.
Jota, just show of hands. Do we all think forward next year?
Oh,
that's not as much as I thought. Actually.
No, but it's more than half the room. I just don't know how often FPL historically don't reclassify players that often, and if we're talking about quite a lot of midfielders getting reclassified as strikers, I don't know.
Well, if we're not sure about Salah. If Salah doesn't get reclassified as a forward, then Jota definitely doesn't get reclassified.
Agreed.
It's an interesting take on it, actually.
Yeah.
So the fourth midfielder in was Sadio Mane, who was the top scoring player in the last 19 games, 135 points. That's 270 over a season. Suddenly you start getting close to the Salah 303 numbers.
Exactly.
And then the front three were interesting. There's one I particularly want to go through with you, Ian. Jamie Vardy got 108 points in the second half of the season. He also included Rondon in his team, 97 points. The one that astonished me was Chris Wood, 99 points in the second half of the season. He was the 12th highest scorer in the second half of the season. That blew my mind, mate.
Yeah.
Because everyone talks about Ashley Barnes when you talk about Burnley.
Yeah.
So I think he's one. The reason for highlighting these sort of players is obviously you see all these on Twitter. Oh, if you'd had this team all season, listen, we're all making transfers. That shit's not happening. Is to look at players who've done really well in the second half of the season, and then know that they've come in with form over a sustained period. Is there any from that sort of 11 you think, yeah, definitely one early next season?
Definitely not Mark Noble. Although actually, if he's still on penalties, there's a shot. But
well, maybe.
But I tell you what, I feel sorry for Watford, because if Mark
he's still
Noble,
on penalties, he deserves to be shot.
If Mark Noble can shred Watford's defence like he did last weekend, what's City going to do this afternoon? But,
True.
Wood's interesting because, I mean, Wood last season showed flashes, and again this season he showed flashes, but he was injured quite a lot early on, so he's making a lot of appearances off the bench, which obviously is why he's had such a great improvement in the second half. And I think, am I right in saying he was the most offside player in the Premier League?
You said,
yes,
yeah.
The most offside player in the Premier
flag.
League this season. So now if he can overcome that and he can get his timing a little bit better, he's got every chance of really, really improving on that. And they'll still be budget guys. Barnes and him will both be at the budget end of the striker options. And if you're looking at playing three strikers and you're looking for guys to play regularly, then Barnes or Wood can fill that third striker slot very easily.
Correct.
Nice.
Well, listen, look, guys, if you don't follow this guy, you should, because it's really, really, I was going to say thoughtful, and then I'm thinking it's like thoughtful Hawks is a little bit too honey. Oh, I've got more questions. We'll come back to these at the end. Yeah, so please do, and during the cup final and all the rest of it, do come and say hello to Ian. We appreciate everything you do for the community and your time today as well, man. Thank you so much. Come on, you irons. Next slide. Do you know how to get the folder with the audio? There's a folder with the audio. Next up, we have the one and only Tom Cantle from Who Got the Assist.
Got Tom.
If you don't know who got the assist...
No, I need a wait.
If you don't know who got the assist, then you're living under a rock somewhere in the middle of nowhere. To obviously, Tom, your podcast is highly focused around, not it's highly focused, but it's focused around stats, data-driven.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we haven't pre-planned what we were going to talk about. However, James and I did some pre-planning, and we think when you've got data and stats, it's always good to have a little quiz.
Right, I'm leaving.
You're leaving. How do you fancy a little quiz?
Yeah,
Cue music, Matt Child. You have to turn the volume up on there. Right, this is called Who Wants to Get the Assist?
Jesus.
Simple rules.
Go on
You can
then.
move to the next slide, Matt. Right, there's some a tray of tequilas there.
Oh.
Questions are coming on. Multiple choice.
All right. Go on then.
If you get the question right, James and I will be drinking tequila. If you get the question wrong, you drink tequila.
Right.
Up for the challenge?
Go on then.
Right, here we go. Question number 1. Which defender outside the top 6 created the most assists in the 2018-19 season?
Luca Dean.
Was it A?
It was
Doherty?
Luca
Well,
Dean.
just so you know, you've got three lifelines. You can ask someone in the audience should you wish. You can phone Nick if Nick is available, but that's the only person you're allowed to phone. And I will let you have a 50-50. But if you use a lifeline, shot.
All right. Yeah.
Lucas,
Luca
final
Dean.
answer?
I'll go with Luca Dean, yeah.
Matt Child, that's the wrong answer. Can we have the music for the wrong answer, I'm afraid? Oh, it was actually Pereira at Leicester. Oh, it was Pereira and Leicester. Right. James is completely ducked out. Next slide, please, Matt. It was Pereira.
You should have asked a friend.
Yeah. Right, next question. Next question, are you ready?
Fucking hell.
Again about assists. Which player from a relegated side created the most assists in the 2018-19 season? Sessignon, Camarasa, Löw, or Mitrovic? Oh, sorry, it's not in the second half, it's the whole season. In the 2018-19 season, which player created the most assists?
Don't know, man. I'm hearing the crowd, and I think I'm going to go with it.
Let's say no penalty shots for using a lifeline. Let's do that.
All right. I'm going to go for Camarasa.
Oh, you sure you don't want a 50-50?
No, I'll go Camarasa.
Incorrect answer. It was actually Ryan Sessignon. What? Created the most assists. No, I am not. Next slide, please, Matt Charles. What? Oh, okay, I have to do a shot for spelling Sessignon wrong, which means, James, you do too.
What's all this shots business?
I don't know, mate. I think we've just left it.
Next slide, Matt. Right. And for those that don't know, Tom is a Arsenal fan, am I correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, so here's an Arsenal question for you. How many Arsenal players created more assists in the 2018-19 season than your £350,000 a week creative midfielder number 10 talisman, Mesut Ozil? What do you do?
Jeez Louise. All right, I'm going to ask the audience.
I'd phone a friend.
I'm going to ask. No, Nick's useless. Nick's going to be. He won't even care, though. He won't even know I'm here. A bit like you and James, really. There's one of us who actually gives a shit, and the other one who doesn't really show up. We're going to go for.
What the fuck is that?
I spelled Sessignon wrong.
Someone explain to me how I'm
the
going to
audience, I think.
Right.
No, so lick the salt off. Lick your finger. Lick this part of your hand. Lick this part of your hand.
How
James.
many?
You're the worst lad ever. And put the salt on that. Lick it. Lick it. Put that in your other hand. Lick it. Lick. Oh, fucking hell, man.
That's what she said.
Lick the salt. Down the tequila. And then put
Bite the
out.
lemon.
There we go.
Oh, Christ. Okay, how many Arsenal players created more assists than Mesut Ozil?
I'm going to ask the audience.
Go for it.
How many Arsenal players?
Ooh, Dan, straight on it.
It's got to be 15, isn't it?
Okay, I'm going to go with 9.
9. The correct answer is, Matt Child? It is 9.
Nice one, guys.
However, what that does mean is if you had a team of 11 players, one of which being the goalkeeper in Leno, all other 10 outfield players, 9 outfield players would have created more assists than Mesut Ozil in that team.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like upset about Ozil because last year he created more chances than anyone else, I think. But I think this year, like, whatever reason, he's missed so many games, and a lot of it is probably just that mentality-wise, like, he definitely had
bad
depression.
back.
I think he's got
runny nose.
I think he's got depression, like, genuinely. Like, I think that's the reason he's not.
Is that
been
serious?
around.
No.
Yeah,
just
genuinely.
elaborate.
I think he's got,
It's not a joke.
I think he's got like a mental health issue. Like that's
What makes you think that?
Like the Germany team, like being out of that, like
Of the racism stuff with
and
that.
there's so many reasons. There's so many like games where he just didn't show up for whatever reason.
Plus the
Like,
salt, James.
It's too much. Right. Sorry,
Give it to Tom.
I got to do another shot because you got the you got that last question right.
I got the assist for your shot, right?
Yeah. You got. Oh, there you go.
While he's doing
Cheeky.
that, on a serious, Tom, that's good fun. Thanks for taking part.
That's all right.
You genuinely didn't know that was going to happen, and that's
No.
all Sudge's work, by the way. I'm going to ask you how much time you spend on your pods,
So I think like each week we look
excluding recording.
Excluding recording. So I think like each week it depends what we're going to talk about. So we have chats, you know, on the weekend to see what develops and what's like the zeitgeist, I guess, from people talking about. I think we look at what everyone's going to be talking about and then think, well, what else are we going to do? Because I'm guessing that, you know, guys like, you know, Always Cheating, The Scout are going to focus on fairly straightforward issues. And there's no point in us doing the same as everybody else. So we tend to look at something else and say, right, then what's interesting here? What else is going on? So like, is there a theme of like people being like, oh my God, like I brought this guy in because everyone said I was going to bring him in and he didn't do anything, so I can do something cleverer. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a good FPL manager, I'm not at all. But I'm a fairly decent analyst, so we look at all the data and think, oh, what way can we spin this? What way can we skim this to make it a little bit better? That can mean it takes a bit longer, so we get all the data and analyse it and mess around with it. I think probably about 3 or 4 hours, and then I've got to edit as well.
I don't know why, but I thought you were going to say days.
No, definitely not days. Definitely not days. So I've got to play Call of Duty, man.
Okay. Because it feels like, I know you do a lot of editing. Like ours will go straight out because we've got him and we're quite fortunate.
Yeah.
Yours, you cut it yourself, right?
I do.
In terms of, because I know you were saying like your last one was like 3 hours and you chopped it to 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's got to be quite painful, no?
I mean, talking about FPL for 3 hours in itself, we took for 1.5 hours and I'm done.
And I'm sick of you.
Yeah, I've had enough of James by then, to be honest.
No, I think we're both quite like nerdy about it, as you can probably tell from my being very charismatic visage. I'm not particularly a lad. I'm a little bit nerdy. Like I look at things from a researcher's point of view. So I think me and Nick have often over-prepare, have a lot to talk about, have a lot to do, and then trying to cut that down to what's relevant and what's useful is tends to be the challenge. So being like ruthless and be like, Nick, you've spoken about, I don't know, Ricardo Pereira for at least 15 minutes. I'm going to delete all of that. It's just the way it is.
Neil.
It's just the way it is. But yeah, for a little while.
Cool. And I understand next year you want to, I saw a tweet the other day, you were saying you're going to move maybe back towards a more psychological element?
Yeah, I think so. I think like equally, like you always like listen to pods for different reasons. And I spoke to Neil about this earlier actually. We listen to pods like for analysis of what's going on week to week, probably you guys do. But for me, you know, you can do you, which is for me understanding what's going on and trying to relate it to other things. So I'm a behavioural researcher back in the day, and it's very useful to look at that and say, is confirmation bias important? Is authority bias important? Is the way we look at things in terms of novelty effects important? And I think I'll be trying to do that next year a little bit, just because hopefully it will give you guys something else to think about and something else to try to understand about. Like over management is one of the things we looked at.
You mentioned over managing there as potentially one of the things that is a real problem for FPL managers. If you need a guest on that will give you the benefits of under managing your team, the Manchild is fully available because you made 12 transfers all season. He'll teach you the value of not making transfers.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like in the FPL community, because we're all quite a part of it, or at least we all are going to be listening to stuff like Planet FPL, stuff like us.
Are you sure all the podcasts value the FPL community?
No, I'm not. I mean, there are certain members of the podcasting fraternity who have said that we're all nerds.
I ain't buying the fucking book.
We're all weirdos.
I can tell you now, I ain't buying the book.
But the thing is, I met a few of them, and they are nerds and weirdos. They don't even realise it.
Just tell us something. I know.
Hang on, is this better getting filmed than going out?
Yeah. All right.
We should probably stop.
It depends how much money we give Manchild.
That's all right.
Just to wrap up, I think one of the interesting things is you've been involved with official FPL content as well this season. How have you found that, and what have you enjoyed most about that?
I think it was really nice to meet people and go on the FPL show. It was really cool just to show up and like have cameras on you with James Richardson, who was an absolute legend from when I was growing up, like Football Italia.
Did they let you wear makeup and
Yeah, put makeup on
nice.
me. Well, it's the same as what you did to me in the toilets earlier on.
They won't invite us because they can't fix me.
It was good. It was interesting to like be part of it. I think a lot of the time, the way they pitch their content is pretty low. So a lot of it, if you ever read official FPL's tweets and read the article underneath, like it is pretty like below where I would want to put it and what I want to see. Like look at the article with Adam Levy who won. He basically just said, I chose the players who were looking good.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of their analysis. I was thinking, yeah, that's pretty rubbish. Like I could shit that out while I was on a break from work. Like, if you're really thinking about it, like, you could do so much more with that. But they kept it to, like, 1,000 words, kept it very, very light, and that seems to be the way they do things.
I think in fairness to them, they're appealing to a certain market, and it's probably not the majority of
no, of course not. But, I mean, equally, you could try to educate that market.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And actually, some of the stuff they've done in terms of trying to educate people in terms of certain bandwagons, etc., has worked and not benefited most of the people in this room as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, look, we need to wrap up this show because we've got an FA Cup final in all of 45 minutes. The venue are going to bring the screens out and all the rest of it. Tom, really appreciate all the work you do for the FPL community, coming on today and helping us all.
Yeah,
Is there, just out of interest, is there anyone in the audience that doesn't follow who got the assist? Apart from you. There we go. So we've got fans in the room anyway. Make sure you come and say hello to Tom during the interval.
Guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. And thanks for playing the game. We've got 4 shots of tequila left, so that's going to be you, Matt Child. Just by show of hands, how many people think that Matt Child should drink the remaining 4 shots of tequila for being late today? Oh, there we go, Matt Child.
Don't fucking Matt, he's still fucked from last night. Look at him.
Right, just to wrap up before we do, we got 3 questions that were given to us during the break, James, and they're quick.
Go on in.
Okay, this first one's in from Wayne. It says...
Where's Wayne?
Wayne, where are you? It says it's a bit of a stretch. Will you marry me? Basically, how much money you got, mate? Because we'll do anything for a couple of quid.
To be honest, Wayne,
show me your bank balance, and
judging on my comments earlier, there's every chance by this time tomorrow I'll be single.
You up.
So.
Second question: will Roy Hodgson actually ever retire?
No.
No, and nor should he. And last question: what big money signings could upset FPL next season? Well, I know one thing: Chelsea ain't making any.
as if my team ever makes signings.
Yeah, Tottenham ain't making any.
No. I don't see too many game changers. Mig, I'm sorry, but I think, as I said previously, I think Zaha may end up being the biggest transfer of the summer.
Yeah, quite possibly. And that, James, is that.
Nice.
All's left to say is thank you to everybody that came down. Really appreciate it. It's the first time we used the venue and done a live show. We'll definitely be doing more. Just the response has been so good.
Until we get the feedback.
True. Thanks for bearing with us with all the audio and the video and all the rest of the technical stuff that we've been trying to grapple with. Do come and say, we didn't get a chance to say hello to everyone. I feel like I've only said hello to 20% of the room. We're here for a few more hours during the game and all the rest of it. I'd love to just say hello to everybody that made the effort to come down. Any feedback, welcome. Do tweet us. Any FPL questions, keep them coming on Twitter, at Planet FPL Pod, at Susan Shah. But other than that, all that's left to say is ciao for now.
Cue music, Mad Child.
Thank you.